everyone, I'm Emily Vogelsang, and I'm here in Adult Services at the Wando Mount Pleasant Library branch. Today, we're going to chat about one of my favorite activities, which is nature journaling. We'll talk about what nature journaling is, how to do it, and then we'll learn and practice together 2 different techniques. So, what is nature journaling? It is simply a way to record and reflect upon observations that you make in the natural world. As long as you have a few minutes and can record, whether that's by hand with a pen and pencil, by your voice, or any other method, you can nature journal. Some people nature journal to observe nature and support scientific studies. Others use it as a mindfulness technique or simply as a way to keep their hands busy while they're outdoors. You may find that you like to nature journal daily or just every now and then. I like to look at plants. A lot of other people look at bodies of water or study the movement of birds. The beauty of nature journaling is that there's no right or wrong way to do it. So let's start by talking about the materials you need to nature journal. First, you're going to need a place to nature journal. This can be in a chair by a window or in a large park with a really big viewpoint. As long as it's natural, you're good to go. Second, you're going to need a way to record your observations. That might be with pen and pencil, a voice recorder on your smartphone, or any other method like using charcoal and watercolors. And really, that's it. So the next step is to understand how we nature journal. Just like there are no trees exactly alike, everyone who nature journals approaches it a little bit differently. There is no right or wrong way. However, there are a few elements that every nature journal entry should have. And those are going to be your name and the name of anyone else with you that day, the date and time, where you are or your location, and what the weather conditions are. After you've recorded those, it's like a choose your own adventure novel. You can try many different techniques, change it up every time, or do it the same way every day. Today, I'm going to teach you 2 techniques that we'll practice together. So, go ahead and pause your video and grab your recording device. I've got pen and pencil with me today, but you can get a voice recorder from your phone, a tablet, whatever you prefer. So, first things first, we're going to record the 4 elements every nature journal entry should have. As a reminder, those are your name, the date and time, your location, and the weather conditions. I'm going to talk through those elements from where I'm currently sitting. I encourage you to record for where you're currently sitting. Again, I'm using a pen and paper, so I'm going to say write or draw. If you're using a voice recorder, just think, okay, I'm going to say these things. So first, we want to write down the name, and then we're going to write the date and the time, and it's 2021, not 2020, and the time, and it is about 2:45 in the afternoon. So the important part here is going to be that we indicate if it's morning or afternoon. You could also use military time if that's preferred. Otherwise, don't sweat the specific format of the date. Then we're going to write the location, and I'm at the Wando Mount Pleasant Reading Garden. You can also write down your address, so like if you're at home, or you can write down your exact GPS location. And then we're gonna make a few quick notes about what the weather conditions are. So we'll write down things like it's a really sunny day, so I'll write sunny, and there's not a cloud in the sky, so I'll write no clouds. And right now it's about 65 degrees Fahrenheit outside. You can make other notes about the weather, things like if it's rained the day before, or if there's a lot of wind, or things like that. It's really up to you. Once we've done that, you can move on to whatever nature journaling technique you prefer. Today, we're going to walk through 2 different techniques. So the first technique we're going to talk through is called zoom in, zoom out. All we're going to do is for a portion of time, we're going to focus on a large area. This might be an entire viewpoint like we have here today, or you might pick one single tree to focus on. That will be our zoom out portion. And then for another amount of time, you will zoom in. So we might zoom in on that single shrub, or if you're looking at a tree, you might zoom in on a specific twig. During each of those times, you will just make observations, whether that's through making lists, making drawings, tallying the number of leaves you see, or writing a poem about how the view makes you feel. All of it is valid and all of it is nature journaling. So, real quickly, we'll practice that. For about a minute, I will verbally talk through things I might be looking at and also show you how I might record those on my paper. Feel free to follow along with the view that you see on your screen or practice wherever you might be. So, looking out here, I see trees and shrubs, so I might just write down trees and shrubs. I just heard a truck go by, so I might draw an ear to show that it's something I'm hearing, and I might write a truck. And I hear some birds also. And because I heard those birds, it pointed a question for me, and that's a great way to use your nature journal, is to ask questions and then later go research them. So I'm gonna write a question mark for what bird? So that's my zoom out. You may have also chosen to sketch an entire landscape drawing, and that might take a really long time, and that's great. You may also go and count every single shrub that's in your viewpoint and do a tally for those, and do that same with the trees. Or you may choose to write a poem. Right now the breeze is blowing, and I probably could have written a nice poem about how that breeze made me feel. So that would be your zoom out portion. Usually I do that for about 5 minutes. Whatever works for you is great. You're just gonna wanna do your zoom in portion for an equal amount of time. So now we're gonna zoom in. So using our viewpoint back here, let's zoom in on this single tree right here. It's springtime, so we have a lot of bright green leaves blooming on it, so I might make notes about that. I might make notes about what the texture of that shaggy bark is, or I might write a poem about spring because it gave us all that beautiful green color to work with our eyes. So you would again do that zoom in portion for an equal amount of time. Again, usually I do about 5 minutes, but if you want to take a full hour, that's also great. That's the zoom out, zoom in technique. This is a great way for you to get a better view of the whole picture before you focus in on a single beautiful bloom or a single bird or a single lizard that you see scurrying across your porch. So that's one technique that you can use. The second technique that you can use is what I call a 5-minute sit. Other folks call it a sensory sit. In this technique, we are simply going to record our observations by focusing on a single sense at a time. Before I dive into how we really do this, I want to give a few safety precautions and reminders. Please be sure that you understand what plants are poisonous before you touch them. Here in South Carolina, those could be things like poison ivy or poison oak. Also a reminder that if you see animals in the wild, you should not touch them if you're not trained to do so. So be careful with your touch sense here. If you're using your smell sense, your nose, use a wafting technique so that your face doesn't get too close to anything that might cause you to have a rash or breakout or sneeze, especially during pollen season. And when we're doing this nature journaling technique, unless you have an advanced degree in it, please do not taste anything out in nature unless you've grown it in your own garden. There are a lot of things out there that are wonderful and nourish us, but there are a lot of things that can also kill you. So we will just use 4 of our senses in this 5-minute sit. And what we're gonna do is use one sense at a time and make observations about that. And then in your last minute, you would sort of just take everything in. Maybe you were curious and wanted to smell more, but your timer said, hey, move on to your sense of sight for the next minute, and you could do that. Or you could just sit and really take everything in with all of your senses. So let's practice really quick what that would look like. And I'm just gonna use this patch of grass right behind me to model this. So first, I'm gonna start with my eyesight. And so I'm gonna make notes like brown grass because we're still waiting for that bright green. I'm gonna note that there's some twigs and leaves in the grass. And I'm gonna draw this boardwalk that is right next to the grass. And I'm gonna label it boardwalk so I'll remember what that was. Then let's move on to our sense of smell. So again, we're gonna use that wafting technique, and I'll put my face close to the grass and waft like this and take in some smells. So things I'm smelling are the soil, that nice earthy smell, and I also am smelling some decay because we're still coming out of spring. So again, I will maybe just draw my nose, and then I'll write earthy. It felt kind of dry on my nose. The air felt dry, so I'll write dry air. I might write a little bit of decay because I definitely caught a little bit of that. And then I'll move on to my sense of touch. So I'm gonna touch the grass. I know that this is just grass and there's nothing that can hurt me, so I'll rub in it. It feels pretty crunchy. You can see some of the parts popping up. I might touch the twig and feel that it's rough, and I would make notes about that. And then I'm gonna move on to my sense of hearing. So I am out here in the reading garden where we're right next to a road, but also we have a wonderful forested area right behind us. So I'm gonna sit quiet for the next 10 seconds or so and see what I can hear. Okay, so lots of activity, both in front of me, their cars are leaving as they leave school, so I heard a lot of exhaust, but then right behind me, in between those exhausts, I also heard some wonderful bird calls. Humans are a part of nature too, so I would write down those things like the exhaust or the whatever music was coming out of that high schooler's car. And again, I would write down that bird call. I am terrible at bird calls, so I always have to go and research them after a nature journaling session. And then I would take my last bit of time to just sit. I would be quiet, I would take lots of deep breaths through my nose to get all the smells in, and I would keep my eyes wide open. So that's the 5-minute or sensory sit, whichever you would like to call it. I hope that these two techniques can help you get outside and make the most of your time. Nature journaling is a really fun activity and can be done at any age, and there is no right or wrong way to do it. Here at the library, we have so many print materials that can help you do this. At the end of the video, you'll see a slide that can point you towards some of those titles. And don't forget that at the library, you can check out passes for our state and our county parks. You can check out a pass to go to the aquarium and view some marine life. We have so many resources here at the library to help with your new nature journaling practice. Thanks for joining me.